New York Times sports columnist William Rhoden and CBS News legal analyst Jack Ford. Welcome.
Morning, Charlie.
Bill Rhoden, tell me the drama of this. A baseball player who's been there on the field with his mentor having to walk into a courtroom and essentially say, "You've been lying."
Yeah, that was terrible. I mean, and as you look at it, there's clearly not the same buzz there was with Barry Bonds. I mean, that's number one. But two, this the relationship between, we made so much, we wrote so many pieces about this great relationship between Pettitte and Clemens. But at the end of the day, you know, when you, and also Pettitte is a very religious guy.
Yes.
He's an honest guy. And so you balance friendship with honesty.
Yes.
And the law. And it's kind of like this, and the law, and it's like this, and friendship has to go by the wayside. And at the end of the day, you know, you just did not, in terms of what you told me, you did not tell the truth.
Well, I remember that famous line where he said that Andy Pettitte misremembers, number one, a phrase I'd never heard before. Yeah. But did Andy Pettitte in some way violate a man code? There seems to be a code among men. Among cheater, pumpkin eater men, you never break down. Among police officers, there's a wall of silence. It's a legal term, Jack.
No,
it's a legal term. So among his sports colleagues, do they feel, Andy, how could you do that, or do they understand why he's doing what he's doing?
Well, I mean, given the whole context of things, number one, I think we have to go back to the law.
That's true.
Forget the man thing. I mean, when you're facing time, when you're facing time, the man code, any other code, this isn't like you're facing your wife and say, "There, you know, don't believe your lying eyes." You know, this is like the federal. This is the federal government.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Let's not go down that path.
So you say it's a matter of the law. It's a matter of the law.
So Jack, comment on this. What's he on trial for?
Well, he's been charged with, you remember, he testified in front of a congressional hearing, actually asked to do that. And as a consequence now, the government has said, look, you lied before the hearing, you lied to investigators, and this was all an obstruction of justice. So, but what's interesting about Andy Pettitte on the stand here, you know, there is drama in a courtroom. Trials are theater to some extent. I'm not trying to minimize what goes on, but they are theater to some extent. But in a way, if you're the prosecutor, Andy Pettitte is the best witness you can get, because otherwise you've got a swearing contest between Brian McNamee and Roger Clemens. They're both actively involved. You look to some, if you're the prosecutor, some scientific evidence, and there may well be here some to buttress it, but can you find a better witness than a good friend who comes in, as Bill says, you can tell he doesn't want to be there. He's reluctant to be there, and yet the prosecutor says to him, who's the guy? And he's the one, dramatically, figuratively and literally, who has to point the finger.
So from
a prosecutor's perspective, it's great credibility.
You know what bothers me, though, about this whole thing, in other words, you know, who I want to see on stand, these guys are fall guys. Bonds and Clemens are fall guys. I want to see the Commissioner of Baseball take the stand. If we really want to follow the truth where it leads, because there's a whole level of baseball executives who knew all this stuff was going on. And what they're doing is throwing these guys under the bus. Say, okay, that's the end of the steroid era. Let's continue to make billions of dollars. No, I want to see the Commissioner of Baseball. I want to see baseball executives. If we wanted to follow the truth where it leads, if we really want to get to the bottom, who knew what when? Let's do a truth and reconciliation trial. Let's do sort of the Nuremberg trial. Let's bring everybody across.
The problem is you can't, and what Bill's saying is right, but the problem is you can't indict an entire industry. You know, a courtroom, we often talk about courtroom as a search for the truth. It's kind of not the search for the universal truth. It's a search for the truth of that moment and these people.
So it's not really the truth then. What we're doing is we're
the commissioner did not make Roger Clemens do whatever he did.
No, you didn't make any, but it's one thing not to make somebody, but it's another thing as an industry, knowing this stuff is going on, Sammy Sosa, Mike McGuire, and saying, you know what? Times are good.
Closing your eyes.
Times are good. Let's kind of.
We're looking the other way, so therefore we're giving you permission. Is that what you think?
A tacit permission. I mean, if you know this stuff is going on, and there are executives who have said we kind of knew this stuff was going on, and people have died because of this stuff. I just think it's wrong. You know, and I don't want anybody to go to prison. I don't want Clemens to go to prison. I don't want Barry Bonds. We don't need any more people in prison, but I do want to get to the truth.
You want Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens in the Hall of Fame?
Of course.
There you go.
Of course.
Jack, thank you.
All right, Charlie.
But they broke the law, Bill.
Yeah, but
okay.
Yeah.
And Pete Rose. And Pete Rose too.
No. Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, no, but Barry Bonds, yes, and Roger Clemens, yes.
Absolutely. Pete Rose knew. He knew that there was a law. You don't gamble on baseball. He knew that.
Okay. All right. Good to see you, Bill Rhoden. Jack Ford, always good to see you.